So today on Nextdoor, someone posted selling some lumber. And he posted a picture of a trailer full of randomly stacked lumber. And a couple people replied correctly, saying, hey, a chord does have a meaning. It means something. And in this case, they're correct. A cord of wood actually has a legal meaning. It means something. It's like, if you sell a gallon, you can't give me, a pint of gasoline. You got to give me a gallon of gasoline. And if you went to the gas station and paid for 10 gallons and got 9 gallons, you'd be a little upset, wouldn't you? Because you didn't get what you paid for. So, a couple of people replied nicely, no animosity, that a cord of wood means a particular thing. A cord of wood is 128 cubic feet, neatly stacked. That's an important distinction, neatly stacked. Not to go too far off topic, but if you take a bunch of Jell-O boxes and fit them neatly Tetris style into a box, you can fit so many of them in there. But if I take these Jell-O boxes and just randomly toss them in the box, you're not going to get anywhere near as many Jell-O boxes in there. There's a reason why it's specified neatly stacked. Normally, this kind of a thing is either by volume or it's by weight. Well, we can't use weight because different woods have different densities, which means they're going to have different weights. A cord of pine is going to weigh less than a cord of oak, and it's going to weigh more than a cord of mahogany. So different woods are going to have a different mass density per cubic volume of space. So why don't we just use volume? Well, because you can't just use volume, because wood is a bunch of randomly sized chunks. They're not just, neat little boxes like this. They typically, have a particular length and a particular width, usually a typical log, but they're also usually triangle shaped because you're taking something round and you're splitting it. And so when you split it, you're going to get 4 pie-shaped pieces. So if you've ever packed a moving truck or filled a box with stuff, CDs or cassette tapes, neatly stacking is going to allow you to fit a lot more of them in there than randomly stacking. And so the legal metric is 128 cubic feet neatly stacked. That's going to get you relatively close to what it should be. Now, the seller might feel like he's being attacked a little bit, and maybe some people were, and some people definitely weren't. But he responded emotionally instead of intellectually. He felt his pride or ego being violated. He felt people were calling him dishonest. They weren't, because, well, let's be honest, half the people like him who are selling wood are dishonest scumbags looking to rip people off, selling a pickup truckload of wood and calling it a cord. Why is that a problem? Because they're selling it for the price of a cord. That would be like you paying $3.50 for a gallon of gasoline and only getting 3/4 of a gallon. Would you be a little upset? Yes, you would. You paid for a gallon. You want a gallon. If you're getting 3/4 of a gallon and you only paid for 3/4 of a gallon, you wouldn't care. All right? But if you're getting 3/4 of a gallon, but you're paying the price of a gallon, you're being ripped off. Does that mean he's ripping you off? No. But it also means in an industry where ripping people off is almost the norm, maybe it'd be a good idea to explain yourself a little bit instead of responding hostile to people. And maybe it'd be a good idea for people to ask instead of responding hostile. Some people did, some people didn't. He came back and replied, maybe you should find out what the size of the trailer is. No, I'm sorry, that's not how this works. I don't have to go to the gas station and say, show me that a gallon's a gallon on the meter. No, the assumption is if it says I'm getting a gallon, I'm getting a gallon. So the assumption is if you're saying I'm getting a cord, I'm getting a cord. But the picture you posted does not look like a cord. The picture you posted looks like half a cord. Now, I happen to be familiar with trailers, and I recognized immediately that that trailer was quite a bit bigger than a pickup truck bed. I was actually guessing 10-foot trailer. I was actually wrong. It's a 14-foot trailer. He replies back and says the dimensions are 14 by 5 by 2. There's problems with that too, but we'll get into that later. Now, 14 by 5 by 2 is 140 cubic feet. Oh, so we're good, right? No, the metric is 128 cubic feet neatly stacked, not randomly stacked. Because a random stack that takes up 140 cubic feet is going to be quite a bit less wood than a neat stack that takes up 140 cubic feet. So the question now becomes, is 140 cubic feet randomly stacked equal to 128 cubic feet? Randomly stacked, and is that equal to 128 cubic feet neatly stacked? I don't know. And Mr. Armin, it's not my job to know. It's your job to know. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset at you. You're probably just an honest person trying to make a living. Cutting wood's expensive. You got fuel, you got tools, you got enormous amounts of labor. And, you're going to fill that trailer and you're going to get $370. But I also have an enormous amount of labor that went into me having that $370 to give to you. We can't ignore my labor to get that money. And keep in mind, it's not as simple as you can write off your deductions for your costs when you pay taxes on your $370. So the cost of your labor and your wood and all that stuff, you get to deduct that from your $370. I don't get to deduct that. So I have to earn like $440 in order to be able to give you $370 after tax. So both sides have points here. So the question is, and also, is it even 140 cubic feet? Because, you say it's 2 foot tall. Well, it's 2 foot tall in the middle, but it's a dome. So it's shorter on the edges. You're randomly stacked. And by being randomly stacked, that means you're going to be domed like this. You're not going to be flat like this. So you might only be 1.5 foot on the edges, 2 foot in the middle. So these are all questions that people should be asking. And these are questions you should be providing. How would I do that as a businessman? I'm going to try to help you out here. How would I do this to assuage my customers that this is how it works? For example, I don't want to give you neatly stacked wood. Neatly stacked wood takes a lot of extra labor to do. And if I'm going to do that extra labor to neatly stack that wood, I need to charge more for the labor. So I'd rather get I'd rather get the proper amount of wood randomly stacked if it's going to save me some money. But now we have the problem of, how do I determine this? Well, that's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is fill your trailer with randomly stacked wood and then unstack that trailer into a neat stack on the ground. That's 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot. And show people, this is the wood that's in my trailer. It equals this. Neatly stacked pile that's 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot, which is the standard for a cord of wood. That will mean that you can tell your customers, I have confirmed that when I dump a bunch of wood into this trailer that's 140 cubic feet, that I have confirmed it's roughly close to 128 cubic feet. Even if it comes out to over, you should still be fine with that because you're going to have variances. One person might get 126 cubic feet. Another person might get 131 cubic feet. As far as I'm concerned, that's close enough. But that's on you to do. You only have to do it once. Do it once, take the pictures, and show people this amount of wood is this amount neatly stacked. So you're getting the proper 128 cubic foot neatly stacked, plus or minus a cubic foot or two. And that will make people happy. Because short of people like me who are familiar with trailers, and even I was wrong. I thought it was a 10-foot trailer. You expect people to somehow magically recognize how many feet that trailer is, how wide it is, how tall it is. You expect people to somehow magically be able to reorganize the spatial relationship of all the three-dimensional objects in that trailer into a neat stack and then spatially recognize in their mental super genius brain that that's 128 cubic feet? Yeah, right. I do that kind of stuff for fun, and I can't do that. Okay? So the biggest problem I noticed in that thread is, be nice. Don't be assholes to each other. Unless you want us lizards eating the population of Edgewood, because mean people taste good. Yum, yum, yum. Yum. Okay, so when people get mean, we get hungry. So don't be mean. Be nice to each other. All right, now a few people did reply nice. They just made an informative post that described what a cord of wood was. You're the one who said it was a cord. Once you say it's a cord, that's got a legal meaning. That means something. Because we're going to pay a certain price for a cord with the expectation that we're going to get a cord. Just like when you pay $3 for a gallon of gas, you expect to get 1 gallon of gas, not 0.9 gallons of gas. You expect to get 1 gallon. And you'd be a little upset if you didn't. Okay? All right, so learn, be a little informative, inform your customers what they're looking at so they don't have to be super spatial relation genius aliens and figure out what it is they're looking at. You know what they're looking at because you filled it. So do that little bit of work to figure it out for them so that they can be appeased. They can feel like, okay, I'm not getting ripped off here. Because it is very common for people to rip people off selling wood. It is commonplace for people to sell pickup truckloads of wood and call it a cord, which wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that they charge the price of a cord while giving the customer half a cord. And it's usually elderly people getting screwed. And then they freeze to death in their house because they have no more money to buy more wood. Okay, so don't be upset at people being suspicious in a subject matter where ripping people off is common. That doesn't mean you're ripping them off. It just means we're going to be suspicious because half the time you are ripping people off, you being people selling wood. So it's on you to tell us how big the trailer is. It's on you to appease our concerns as to whether or not that's actually a cord of wood or not. It's on you to actually understand what a cord of wood is. You shouldn't be using words you don't understand. And if you do understand, explain it. And then people replying, don't be dicks. He's just a guy trying to earn a living and provide you with a service. Do you want less wood available? Okay? So, yes, you have a right to be clarified as to whether or not that's actually a cord, but don't be a dick about it. He's your neighbor, for God's sake. He can't be on next door unless he lives within a couple of miles of you. He's your neighbor. Be nice. Or else lizards are going to start eating. Just be nice to each other. Don't be dicks to each other.